I did not hear about mental whatsoever.
First contact with sports psychology was when I was about 14-15 years old. I was quite good in judo. Yeah, did much training, more training than others, but in competition I often lost against opponents that I would normally beat. But I lost because my head was full of negative thoughts and I was not focused. I thought about what would happen if I lose the fight. So that's when I started first time to work with a sports psychologist to help me get positive thoughts, to visualize how I would do a good fight, to focus on my strong techniques.
I've come in touch with sports psychology. During my time here at the Sporthochschule, I got to get to know about it a little bit, and it was really interesting to me because I've never done that before. I didn't know that technique, and I really like to use like this mental strength to improve my game and stuff.
Mental imagery is a sports psychological technique that most people use intuitively without specifically knowing about it. It's defined as imagining a certain experience or skill as detailed and with as many senses as possible. You can use it in training, when learning or refining a skill, in competition, to focus and regulate arousal, and during injury.
Yes, I heard about mental imagery. I think there were two parts of it. I would call both visualization, I think. First was in competitions to get a good mindset. I tried to visualize my competition. I tried to see my opponent in my head and thought about how I would handle this guy, how I would grip, what my techniques are, focus on my strong techniques. And the second part of visualization was more when I was injured. I was not able to do judo, but I was able to do judo in my head. So I had to imagine how I throw my opponents in any details I could get. How do I grip? How do I pull? How is the positioning of my feet and so on. I think in competition it's really important to be strong in your head, and visualization really helped me to focus before the fight. Because usually you are standing in front of the mat, you are waiting until the competition begins, and you can't just stand there and let your thoughts spin around, or you use techniques like visualization to really focus on the fight and prepare yourself.
A common misconception in coaches and athletes is that sports psychological techniques, such as mental imagery, are primarily used to combat a problem, but it is just as effective in enhancing performance.
I think it could be really useful to use this visualization and mental imagery technique to use in my sport, because when you're shooting, like shooting free throw, shooting jump shots, I think it would be really helpful to go through this movement just in your mind and get a feeling for it, and because it's always the same movements, the same routines you'd use during this shooting motion, and things could be helpful to get it in your mind straight and then to bring it on court. That really improved my free throw percentage this season, so I don't know, maybe it helped, yeah, and I definitely felt really good with the technique, so yeah, could help.
Research has shown that imagining a skill activates the same brain regions as actually executing it. We asked experts on their experiences with mental imagery and an example of how effective it can be.
I use mental imagery, for example, with athletes who are injured. so that they still keep the feeling for how to do the technique, how to play that pass. The example for sports psychology overall, where mental imagery really worked best, is the story of Michael Phelps winning his 7th gold medal at the Olympic Games in Beijing 2008, where he got water into his goggles and he didn't see anything inside the pool from, I think, 55, 65 meters onwards, and he swam those 150 meters completely blind. And he was only able to do that because he practiced mental imagery and visualization day in and day out.
I would say I use a lot of self-talk.
Yeah.
Arousal regulation would be one of the bigger things as well, with progressive muscle relaxation and meditation, self-awareness, stuff like that, and also mental imagery as well. Basically, I could say I tried with most of my athletes, at least, and we see if it fits for the person, because it really depends on if the individual is good with imagination and stuff like that. So, but I would say you could fit it on every sport out there. I had a golf player who's always hit a slice with his golf ball, and the main problem was his left hand didn't have the right angle when it hit the ball. But he learned that for a couple of years, like 10 years, the wrong way. So he once in a while always got the slice into the ball. And then we started using first the self-explanation of the new movement, and then he did the mental imagery with the observant perspective, and at the end with the inner perspective, and we could change or we changed his movement in, I would say, like 3 to 4 weeks. Be good after 10 years practice.
Basketball is an example of a sport with complex demands, where mental imagery can be used in pressure situations to successfully execute an automatized skill like the free throw. You can visualize using different perspectives, such as the third-person perspective and the first-person perspective. Additionally, mental imagination through the gaze perspective enhances the execution of a tactical play like the pick and roll. In summary, mental imagery is a sports psychological technique that can be highly individualized, is applicable to all sports, and is a cost-effective tool that can help improve anyone's performance.
So I definitely would like to try it, yeah.